कुमार स्वामी नायक गोंगो लुगु लटोका रेडियो फीजी 2 में पुराना गाना लगे हमें बहुत अच्छा लगे।
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन।
Good evening, Fiji. In this bulletin, another road contractor put on notice. Police advised to continue doing good. And traditional delicacy under the spotlight.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Jackie Spate.
Yet another road contractor has been put on notice. This time the contractors of the 4-lane road Kings Road project between the Rewa Bridge and 9 Mile Suva has been put on notice. The Fiji Roads Authority has seen surfacing failures on the road and has increased the defects liability period for contractors to 2 years. Kritika Kumar reports.
The initial defects liability period was 1 year. However, the authority had to extend the time due to the issues with the initial road surface.
Any works that we've done for FRA, there's a defects liability period which is 1 year, 365 days. So if there's any workmanship or any design failure, the contractor is required to fix it at their own cost.
The FRA will be monitoring the road for the next 2 years as the work done has been tagged as not being up to the required standard. Prasad adds they will only return the retention money when the contractor meets the standard and quality stated in the contract.
So we'll monitor everything for 2 years at their own cost. They pay the insurance at their own cost, bonds at their own cost. Then only we'll pay them the retention monies back.
Infrastructure Minister Chone Osamate says they are working on improving the condition of the roads. However, it is a gradual process which takes time.
Well, everybody wants larger roads, but from FRA and from government's perspective, we need to make sure that we work on those that are heavy traffic first. So over time, you will see a gradual improvement of the roads, but it's going to be a gradual process, and you will expect the FRA to be able to deliver.
The FRA in the next 8 months will be rehabilitating several streets in the Greater Suva area. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
President Major General retired Chiochi Kundrote has encouraged the Fiji police force to remain steadfast in its work, especially in the midst of COVID-19. Speaking at the Fiji Police Force 50th commemorative ceremony of the head of state, highlighted that the head of the disciplined forces often goes unrecognized. Edwin Nunn reports.
Addressing senior officers from around Fiji, the president has called for more attention to the safety of children.
As parents, we're losing too many of our young ones through kids not being supervised. They either come across vehicle accidents or they drown. So please look after the young ones.
President Kondrote says the Fiji police force has been doing a commendable job even when faced with the challenges of the coronavirus and heightened security measures.
The days ahead are going to be most challenging. Very soon we'll be into the holidays and the festive season. More work for you, more relaxing time for us.
As Fiji enters the festive season, President Kondrote encouraged policemen and women to remain steadfast.
Despite the COVID-19 and some not so complimentary comments about the police force, I would just like to assure you on behalf of the Honorable Prime Minister, government and all Fijians that we appreciate what you're doing. We are most grateful.
Once international borders open, the head of state says he intends to visit Fijians serving in peacekeeping missions. Edwin Nand, FBC News.
The Fisheries Ministry says it's aware of the recent cases of suspected Balolo poisoning in Vanua Level, which are believed to have claimed 1 life. Minister Semi Koroi-Lavasau says sea worms or Balolo are handled and consumed before sunrise, but if poorly handled, the worms melt, and if consumed, may cause an increase in toxicity. Kelly Vagalo reports.
I became aware of the poisoning incident when I was in Loma.
Termed as the Fijian whitebait season, Balolo rises in its millions to the surface for a few hours twice a year.
This is quite unusual, very unusual. Getting poison from Balolo have not been heard of. This is the first time I have heard of it. So I think it is an apparent lack of preservation of the Balolo itself, Maybe they had it in stock uncooked for a longer period of time.
Corella says another reason why individuals are affected is if there has been history of fish poisoning.
If you had been poisoned before by eating fish, then the tendency to get poisoned again, at the very likely of eating a poisonous fish, will reinvent itself in the human body.
Provincial Administrator Setereki Ndakwimboda, while having a Talanoa session with villagers of Moana, revealed the recent poisoning incident.
I had received a call last week that 2 people were rushed to the hospital for Balolo poisoning. From the 2, 1 had died. That is the first time for me to actually come across such a case.
The Fisheries Ministry is calling on the public to be extra cautious when consuming fish species of such, especially during the festive season. Kelly Vadala, FBC News.
Some people in Fiji have a mindset that a person with a mental illness is dangerous. Medical Superintendent for St. Giles Hospital, Dr. Kieran Gaikwad, says this fear persists in the community and leads to stigmatization. Dr. Gaikwad adds people need to change their attitude and be more accepting of those diagnosed with mental illnesses. He adds family support is also vital for treatment.
So I will ask the families and loved ones, please do not take this as a curse to your family. This is an illness which can be treated, and if person taking medication and treatment, he will remain as normal as others.
Up ahead, Lao women battle COVID-19 impact.
Baik tu dia jadi beratahu रेडियो फीजी बहुत रेडियो फीजी रोज सुनता हूँ.
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
The COVID-19 pandemic has affected the sale of tapa, handicrafts and copra for various women groups and entrepreneurs in Lao Province. Vato Women's Association President Taringudi Penny says in the pre-COVID period, they were averaging over $1,000 in a month from sales to local and international buyers. Chosaina Nunga tells us more.
This form of business has assisted most Watoa villages over the years before things came to a standstill during the lockdown period.
We rely on the sale of mats, woven baskets and fish for our daily sustenance. We normally send our ordered items once a month, and that's the time we also stock our monthly necessities. We also felt the impact of the pandemic as sale was affected due to social gathering restrictions.
Taringudi Penny says months of preparation for these women have gone down the drain after the National Women's Expo was called off.
The expo is an annual event or bazaar that we always anticipate because that is an opportunity for us to showcase our creativity and earn thousands. Preparation to the expo normally starts 6 months prior to the date, and I think we will just keep our handicrafts and mats for the next expo.
However, she highlighted that business is slowly picking up after various restrictions were lifted. Turangani Koro, Chone Wesaleta Lady Lotus says the fish sale also felt a pinch of the pandemic.
For us male in the community, we rely on fish and other marine species to meet our daily needs. The sale dropped during the lockdown period as inter-island shipping services was halted to transport our cats to our customers on the mainland.
Watoa villages also claims that the seasonal ban on various marine species have affected their daily sustenance and eagerly awaits a positive response from the cabinet and relevant authorities. Chosaina Nunga, FBC News.
After taking a beating from hurricanes in recent years, the technical officer at the Fiji Met Services, Chonenu Ravi, says the Makutu weather station has been revamped since Tropical Cyclone Harold and is ready for this cyclone season. Chosaina Nunga again with this report.
Chonenu Ravi says the worry of issuing weather updates in times of disaster is no more as the station is equipped with the latest technology.
The station was severely damaged following TC Harold. Now the new machines have been installed and we have produced great weather readings, especially during the cyclone seasons.
He adds poor communication is a major challenge he faces while servicing the Southern Lao Group.
There are poor internet connections or network. I have to travel by boat, alerting the Turani Corps of various villages and current weather situations, especially when the depression is approaching the group. At times, my updates to the National Meteorological Center office in Nandi are inconsistent due to poor connections.
The UN plans to work closely with relevant authorities to improve facilities at this weather station.
The meteorological services, of course, here. There was damage during the time of the TC Herald storm surge, and so also supporting to make sure that the equipment's able to be up and running after the cyclone. So those are some of the main things we're doing here.
The station also plays a crucial role in identifying development projects that best suits the climate of the island. Chosaya Nanunga, FBC News.
A U.S. drug maker says its experimental vaccine is 94.5% effective in preventing COVID-19, based on interim data from a late-stage trial. The company says its results have so far exceeded expectations. And staying with the U.S., several U.S. states have announced strict new limits on social gatherings and commercial activity. This is to tamp down on a coronavirus surge threatening to overwhelm healthcare systems. And it's now time for business.
Thanks, Jackie. Coming up, World Bank rates North for tourism. And in growing Fiji, Fiji Airways takes to local skies. Stay with us.
Pula nadang go approach lang kerse, go erkraki, do televisi na barong na Radio Fiji 1 nandomo ibiti.
Radio Fiji 1 nandomo ibiti.
A new World Bank study that will form the design of a tourism development project has revealed that Vanua Levu has the potential to become a high-end tourist destination. Conducted by the International Finance Corporation, the Vanua Levu Tourism Market Demand Assessment states that in order for Vanua Levu to unlock its growth potential, it needs robust tourism planning and significant investments in infrastructure, services and technical assistance. It also recommends developing the labor force for tourism and advancing biodiversity and conservation. Vanua Levu's tourism potential is largely untapped, with the island only receiving 4% of Fiji's total international visitors. The new report says Vanua Levu has a competitive advantage in growing nature-based and adventure tourism and has already attracted Fiji's highest spending visitors. Boeing is set to win approval for its grounded 737 MAX airliners this week, but the chinks are appearing in the brand as the most traumatic chapter in the jet maker's history overshadows the plane's original billing of superlative performance. Sinifa is here with the latest from the money market.
A quick review of trade on our South Pacific Stock Exchange last week. The SPX market capitalization recorded an increase of 0.25%, and concluded the week at $3.45 billion. Amalgamated Telecom Holdings, FMF Foods, Kontiki Finance and Port General recorded share price increases, while Fiji Television, Paradise Beverages and RB Patel noted a decrease. Fiji Care Insurance and Fijian Holdings share prices remained unchanged. 103,000 shares were traded in 29 transactions, adding up to about $136,000. Minutes from the Reserve Bank of Australia's most recent policy meeting showed the central bank is ready to provide yet more policy stimulus if needed after cutting rates to record lows. And the US dollar nursed losses with the return of coronavirus restrictions in some US states and worry about Joe Biden's transition to president offset optimism about the release of an apparently effective coronavirus vaccine. That's all from HFC Bank for now. Vinaka.
Thanks, Sinifia. Here are the local exchange rates as said early this morning. The Fiji dollar is starting the work week on the rise against the Chinese yuan, the US greenback and the other currencies which we cover, with the exception of our two major trade partners, Australia and New Zealand. Prices were rising on the commodities market. Crude oil rose to over $41 per barrel. Gold was up slightly at $1,890 per ounce and silver closed up at $28.27 per ounce. Fiji Airways is giving Fijians a chance to return to the skies and experience the joy of flight again this Saturday aboard its brand new A350 aircraft. The airline's travel-ready flight FJ679 will depart Nadi International Airport and spend over 2 hours in the skies above Fiji before returning. The airline will also use the flight to prepare staff and guests on changes to expect when commercial flying resumes once border restrictions ease. The airline says flying has changed since the beginning of this year, and the Travel Ready program is designed to air travel in a COVID-19 world. The airline has put numerous precautions and medical safeguards in place to protect customers and staff alike. And that was business for tonight. Aquila joins you next with sports.
Good evening. In sports tonight, new season to start early, and Olympic dream may come true next month for swimmer. These and more coming up.
Bula FM number 2 NSR. Bula FM number 2 NSR.
Following the success of the 2020 Skipper Cup season, the Fiji Rugby Union is now planning for next year's competition. This year was special with the introduction of the 14 rounds of home and away games, and despite the challenges brought by the pandemic, the competition was successful. FRU Chief Executive John O'Connor says the 2020 season will start early.
Yeah, we will kick off at the back of March and April. We are preparing for the tournament. What we have asked the teams is to rest now, plan the off season, because the start of the new season is just around the corner.
Following the Region 3 and 4 women's tents yesterday, Fiji Under-15's head coach Senirusi Seruvakula will get one more chance to identify skilled players. Seruvakula is now looking forward to the National Tents Championship in Tavua next week. Seruvakula will select 30 players next week to prepare for the 2021 Rugby World Cup in New Zealand.
So our first camp is on the 24th and 25th, and then our second camp on the 8th and 9th of December. So by January next year, I'll have all the players that have talent idea and that have put their hands up for selection before the overseas players are starting to arrive around June.
Following the 10th tournament yesterday, the selectors identified players to make 4 teams for the national championship. The FRU development manager says these teams will represent their regions.
We'll pick the 2 Highlanders team from Region 3, and we will also pick 2 Central Falcons team, which comprise teams in the region.
The Women's National Tents Championship will be held next week in Tavua. Pacific Games double gold medalist Taichi Vakasama was one of the impressive swimmers at the age group nationals that ended in Suva yesterday. Vakasama, who is the Pacific Games 200 meters breaststroke record holder, has not lost sight of his Olympic dream, something he could achieve next month. The 22-year-old strutting his stuff in his first long course event since the lockdown, and he didn't disappoint.
I think I did really great in the pool this weekend. As of this first long course competition since before the COVID break, and it is really hard to get back within the competition, but managed to do good times, and hopefully I can use this as a preparation for Open Nationals.
The Open Nationals is the most important event for Vakasama in his quest for an Olympic sport.
This Open Nationals coming next month is a qualifier for Olympics, and I'm hoping to get the times in my two best events.
Fiji Swimming President Ben Rover says our elite swimmers, including Vakasama, are on track.
Their main target event is for December. Now, even if they're a little bit off on their seat time coming into these nationals, but when you look at the performance, we know that they're on track. You know, different coaches have their different training programs that they've set for them.
The Open Nationals will be held on the 19th and 20th December at the Aquatic Center. Netball Fiji believes they have selected the best 25 players to prepare for the World Championship. At the start of the season in March, selectors were looking for holistic netballers. Following the conclusion of the Digicel Punzes Reset Championship over the weekend, Netball Fiji is confident the players it has selected are the best. However, the squad will be trimmed later before the final team is announced.
So we've just been driving home the notion of a holistic athlete. So somebody that's doing well at school, at work, at home with their families, and then can come to netball and still produce results for us. And I think that's just been the aim of this whole competition, and our selectors, our panel was asked to focus on those areas.
Sports has not been spared by COVID-19 around the world. However, it is now being said that COVID-19 transmission risk is very low in elite sports events, according to a UK doctor. In our play of the day, Canterbury will remain in the Mitre 10 Premiership next year after squeezing by Auckland in an entertaining clash. And it was all thanks to Che Fihaki's monstrous penalty goal that gave the Red and Blacks the 34-33 win. And that's it from Sports Tonight. Coming up in new media, how an app is helping Somalia and its people. Details after the break.
Baik tu dia jadi berkata रेडियो फीजी बहुत रेडियो फीजी रोज सुनता हूँ.
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
Years of conflict and the threat of al-Qaeda-linked Islamists battling to overthrow the government have left many Somalis dependent on aid. But an app called eShop has changed that dynamic, says the World Food Programme. And our wonderful weather lady Angie joins us now with all the latest.
Good evening and welcome to the Weather World. Hope the long weekend treated you well. The weather was amazing for the festival. There were no disappointments or complaints regarding weather. Anyways, we have another short week and the conditions are gradually heating up. In the west, more sunshine for the day plus humidity. It felt like 37 degrees. Eastwards from Peck Harbour to Suva, little cloudy with odd showers surrounding. And up north, mixed weather situation. At sea, southeast winds 15 to 20 knots, moderate to rough seas. Looking at the tides, high tide at 9:01 p.m. with low tide at 3:15 a.m. Sunrise at 6:26. For tomorrow, rain is in the picture. It will gradually build up, won't have much of it. Tomorrow's temps, Lambasa will have highs of 32 degrees, pretty warm for the northerners. And looking further on to Thursday, it doesn't look that good, especially with showers in the eastern and northern divisions. That's all the weather news. It's back to Jackie.
Thanks so much for that, Angie. In Fijian Pulse, we asked, how different was your Diwali compared to previous years?
There wasn't much fireworks and lights, probably because of curfew, and I'm not sure why, but when I was little, I would enjoy midnight rides so we could see lights, but this year, not so much as before.
We just visited our neighbors. Because of curfew, we had to be back home by 10 p.m.
There was a curfew, so we didn't have much sweets. But there was less fireworks too, so there wasn't much to enjoy, but it was fun.
At this time, due to COVID-19, that was hindered a lot, and about the fireworks,
It was allowed till 10 when people weren't able to celebrate and enjoy their time with their families, and they had many weren't able to go out of their house and gather around.
Recapping the main stories for tonight, another road contractor put on notice. Police advised to continue doing good and traditional delicacy under the spotlight. Now for these stories and others, tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. Our poll question we're asking, are you prepared for the festive season amid COVID-19? Visit our FBC website to answer. And on to our shot of the day. First one for our short working week. Josh Tukula captured this from the Vunda Marina. And you can send us newsworthy pictures to email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj, via Facebook page FBC News and our Twitter page at FBC_news. That's your news for tonight. Until tomorrow, stay safe. Bye for now.
कुमार साहब नायक है गोमवा लुगु लटोका रेडियो फीजी 2 में पुराना गाना लगे हमें बहुत अच्छा लगे।
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन।